Ahoy there, Captain James Hawk, back again at Pirate Tales. This time to talk to you about the very important thing about being a pirate. It's not the cutlass fighting. It's not ham night. No, it's knowing how to talk like a pirate. That's how the best recruits are found. In fact, this is something that we're going to talk about today in Pirate Pete's Talk Like a Pirate. It's written by Kim Kennedy and illustrated by Doug Kennedy. Pirate Pete had the most amazing ship ever to sail the high seas, but he needed a crew. Not any old crew would do, however. "I needs me a pirate crew," Pete told his parrot, "and I know just where to find one. Rascal Island." "To Rascal Island we go," cried the bird. Rascal Island, I like the sounds of this place. Pete spun the ship's wheel toward the Sea of Mischief, and soon his speedy ship reached Rascal Island. That looks like a fun place. Pete dropped anchor in the bay and then hung a sign across the ship's bow. "Buccaneers wanted." Before long, a boat filled with rascals rowed up to the ship. Pete rubbed his hands in glee. They were the dirtiest, most mischievous, and sneakiest looking scallywags, and scurvy dogs he'd ever laid eyes on. See, Buccaneers wanted, and they're rowing along to that boat. One by one, the rascals climbed aboard the ship. "Listen up, mateys," announced the parrot. "If you wants to sail with Pete, then you gotta prove you got what it takes." Pete nodded and declared, "You needs a peg leg and an old eye patch, a fierce-looking hook, and a beard you can scratch. You gots to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, you gotta talk like a pirate." Pretty fair rules to be a part of a pirate crew, if you ask me. A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firing," said Pete, "and I sees you gots a peg leg, hook, and an eye patch. And that beard of yours, does it hanker scratch?" "It is quite itchy," answered the man, "especially during summer when the weather tends to be sultry." "Blow me down," bellowed Pete. "You don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." I mean, he looked like a great pirate, but then, well, he just talked like a educated landlubber. As the man splashed overboard, Pete hollered, "You should have said, when the sun's a-blazing, me beard gets the itches. Worse than a bucket of sand down me britches." They should have wore the golden underpants. "Next," ordered the parrot. Let's see if the next recruit's any better. Pete squinted at the rest of the rascals and said, "You gots to be stubborn and mighty cranky. You gots to be dirty and awfully stanky. You gots to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, you gots to talk like a pirate." A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firing," said Pete. "I can see that you're plenty dirty and stanky, but is you stubborn and cranky?" "Oh, indeed," replied the rascal. "Sometimes I'm very irritable, especially when I don't eat my breakfast." "Shiver me timbers. You don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." She looked like such a nice lass, too. As a rascal went overboard, Pete cried, "You should have said, I's as mean as a shark that's stuck in a tub when I've got not scarfed me morning grub." "Next," squawked the bird. Pete glared at the rascals and said, "You gots to love treasure. Why, it's your duty to plunder ship and shore for gleamin' booty. You gots to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, you gots to talk like a pirate." A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firing," said Pete, "and judging by the gold and rubies you're flaunting, I reckon yet you done some plundering in your day." "That is correct," said the rascal. "I misappropriated a number of fine jewels without permission." "Blimey," cried Pete. "You don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." I mean, if I had that many golden jewels, I'd be as happy as a snug too. As the rascal leaped overboard, Pete shouted, "You should have said I pilfered loot on land and sea, and no man says so has ever stopped me." "Next!" blarted the parrot. You know, judging by the looks here, they're not having very luck with their new recruits, I'm just saying. Pete shook his head. He had finally lost his patience. He curled up his lip at the last rascal and declared, "You got to trim the sails and mind the deck. You've got to be brave in case of shipwreck. You got to load a cannon and know how to fire it. But most of all, you have to talk like a pirate." The rascal walked forward, loaded the cannon, and fired. "Nice firing," said Pete, "but is you brave? 'Cause no lily-livered seafarer is gonna sail with me." "I can assure you that I am extremely courageous," said the rascal. "I will conduct myself with valor at all times." "Confound it!" shouted Pete, stomping his foot. "You don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank!" He looked like a great pirate there. I mean, with a little bit of training, I'm just saying. You know. As the rascal dropped overboard, Pete yelled, "You should have said, I've not a yellow-bellied bone from me head to me toes. I'll stand brave upon this ship, wherever she goes." "Can you believe it?" Pete moaned to his parrot. "Out of all them rascals, not one was fit for me crew." "'Tis true," squawked the bird. "By the powers, they's no more a bunch of squilfies and sprogs, none of 'em fit to go swashbuckling and plundering for pieces of 8 upon this briny blue on this here vessel." That's pretty impressive vocabulary there for a parrot. I'm impressed. Pete blinked as well. "Why, you talk just like a pirate," he cheered to the bird. "You're all the crews I need. Weigh anchor." "Aye, aye," said the parrot, and off they sailed. Back on the high seas went Pete and his bird. They, knew a pirate always gets the last word. They looked for a crew so they could hire it, but blimey, none of them could talk like a pirate. Now you see how important it is to know how to talk like one of us, especially if you're going out in the high seas. We'll catch you next time on Pirate Tales, where you can hear some more great stories from none other than yourself.